let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to call us to order at 7:07 p.m. Eastern Time. And Madam Secretary, when you're ready, we'll go through roll call.
And just to let everyone know, Mr. Crum was going to be here and handle the secretarial duties tonight, but a truck apparently ran into his fiber optics and severed them. So he couldn't be here, unfortunately. All right. So Ms. McCardle.
Present.
Mr. Watkins.
Here.
And after roll call, I got to start the YouTube stream. Mr. Hagopian.
Here.
I am here. Mr. Blankenship.
Here.
Mr. Maligan.
Present.
We don't have Mr. Nicola. We don't have Mr. Rufo. Ms. Yanuskavich.
Here.
Thank you. We don't have Mr. Benner or Mr. Dassing. Mr. Ford.
Here.
Mr. Heyman.
Present.
Ms. Hayes.
Here.
Mr. Nana.
I'm here.
Mr. Tunyevich was not going to make it. Mr. Alvstead could not make it. Mr. Cowan.
Present.
Mr. Hall, I don't believe is here. Mr. Hirsch.
He's here. He's muted.
Okay. Mr. Hyman.
I'm here.
Mr. Redpath.
Yes.
Okay, so Madam Chair, let me look here. We are missing from at-larges, Mr. Nicola, Mr. Rufo. For regionals, we don't have Mr. Benner, but Mr. Cowan will be sitting in for him. We do not have Mr. Dassing, but Mr. Hyman will be sitting in for him, and we don't have Mr. Tunyevich, so Mr. Redpath will be sitting in. So we do not have any representative from Region 7, which would be Miss Best.
Okay. The next thing we have is going to be opportunity for public comment. It's we're going to take up to 2 minutes each. So what I want you to do is go to the bottom of the screen, go to raise hand or click reactions and raise hand there. And give me just a moment to pull participants up. There we go. I want to kick public comment off. Oh, are we live streamed yet?
I am working on that right now,
Okay.
but
Let's wait just a moment, everyone. I apologize.
the icons now look very similar when they're tiny for me to, because we have that old YouTube account that
There
I
it
wish.
goes.
Okay.
Okay, meetings being live streamed. I hope that a lot of people will raise their hands to express sympathy for to Mr. Donovan Pankey's family. Donovan, our Region 7 rep, passed away really suddenly over the weekend. And it's like really terrible. And I was hoping that someone else would be able to come on and share the details of it. I didn't want to overstep my bounds regarding that, but there's a GoFundMe for his family. And I know that, he left behind a wife and 3 children, and I can't really imagine. That's got to be really devastating and horrific. So I hope that the LP will do a lot, as much as we can to support his family. I don't know if he had life insurance. I don't know where they're at financially, but I do think that it's going to be a struggle, and that's why they have a GoFundMe. So just please keep them in your hearts and your prayers and your thoughts, and in your pocketbook too, if you can afford to just reach out and give something to support that family. If anyone has the GoFundMe link, please go ahead and drop that in the chat, and let's just do everything we can to support them in this really difficult time. So with that, let me jump now to Mr. Dustin Nana.
Yeah, that's actually exactly why I raised my hand. Obviously it's terrible news, and I hope as an LNC we will do whatever we can. If anybody has the financial means, as you said, we'll donate to that GoFundMe. And I'm hoping maybe we can send some flowers to the memorial service or to the family, and, just support them in any way they can. I can't imagine. It's obviously horrific. So, but at this time, I would ask if we could have a moment of silence for Mr. Pankey. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Mr. Nana. We will be sending something to the family from the LNC specifically. Mr. Halaka?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to start by sending my condolences as well as the condolences of everybody in LP Florida to the friends and family of Donovan Pankey. I can understand how it's a difficult situation to go through with such an untimely situation. Otherwise, Madam Chair, I just want to thank you again for your consideration and concern on the matter I sent you with the discrepancies with the basic sustaining membership for LP Florida. I hope to hear a update from someone from the LNC soon. Otherwise, I also want to thank the LNC for their consideration on myself being selected as the Credentials Committee Chair, and I hope to stay on to answer any questions if the board deems so necessary. Thank you.
Thank you. Please check the list and get with me after the meeting or shoot me an email. Up next, we have Mr. Hector Roos.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the LNC. This is Hector Roos from Florida. I also want to first, of course, offer my condolences to the family of Donovan Pankey and those in Texas and everyone else, especially those here who were touched by his warmth. I'm here today simply to commend the efforts of the LNC, also support the requests from my chair, Josh Lubka from Florida, and also especially thank the chair for pushing forward with voter gravity, the canvassing and phone bank software that will be offered to all candidates. And I'm anxiously looking forward to how quickly we can implement this software in Florida. Congratulations to the Affiliate Support Committee and their staff for their work in the Affiliate Handbook. And without a doubt, I'm pleased to see the work of the Ballot Access Committee. And I hope soon we can start looking at ways to secure permanent ballot access by referendum, where those states have in those states that have a low petition requirement. Thank you, and I yield.
Thank you, Mr. Roos. Okay. Up next, Madam Secretary.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I'm sure everyone wants to express their condolences to Donovan's family. Everyone knows, like in Reno, there was mostly of a particular caucus, and Donovan was not a member of that caucus, but the way he conducted himself was exemplary in being in the minority, and that could be a very difficult position. And I hope we honor his memory in that way, and perhaps look to emulate some of that. Donovan was a real gentleman, and the GoFundMe is in chat, and I would encourage everyone to also personally give if you can, even if it's just a little bit. That family is hurting.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Okay, if there's no other public comment, we're going to jump to our next agenda item, and it's changes from the Policy Manual Committee. And I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Harlos for that.
Yes, and 1 second. Are you all seeing my screen? Zoom is horrible right now with screen sharing. It hides all my controls. Okay, thank you. I need to pull up the OneNote because it shut down on me. So give me a second. Are you seeing my OneNote screen right now? I know it's, or is it still on the agenda notes?
OneNote.
Okay, perfect. So under new business with previous notice, one moment, the policy manual proposals, and Kathy may want to speak to this as well. I categorized the changes on the LNC list, but if the committee recalls, we had noticed a problem in the past where some special rules of order were in standing rules and some standing rules were in special rules of order. I had actually thought it was more extensive than it actually was upon examination, and that it would be a terrible fix. It actually is quite an easy fix. So I'd like to scroll through and just explain the changes. There were also some changes to committees that were requested by the chair and the Convention Oversight Committee. And also we were instructed by a previous LNC meeting to come up with a policy on related party transactions. And we have complied with that. So I'm going to scroll through here and show you the changes, you will see that it says special rules of order in wrong place will be highlighted yellow, and standing rules in wrong place will be highlighted green. Those are those changes, and everything else will be in the typical markup. So first of all, there was just some pro forma changes on the format of the proposed agenda to conform to practice, not just the practice of this LNC, but of several past LNCs. And that is under housekeeping to add the credentials check, and under the secretary's report to add report of upcoming bylaws mandated deadlines, so that those are always reported out to the LNC. I have always done that, but it really should be part of our policy manual. Also, continuing to scroll, these are the committee changes. For affiliate support committee, it was affiliate support committee, and even understanding what it used to say was always just really complicated and cumbersome. So we simplified it. Instead of having it necessarily have to be regionals and alternates selected by the chair and just having this cumbersome process, we have that the member selection will be the LNC, and the size would be 7 members with a minimum of 2 LNC members. We can leave it up to the LNC if it ends up being regionals or not. We are all members of this party and all wish to see affiliates succeed. And the LNC can select the chair just from the committee. It didn't need all that complicating language. Same thing with convention oversight committee. We changed it from a minimum of 4 LNC members to 3 LNC members. There's an awful lot asked of LNC members for these committees, and sometimes we don't have it. So, you know, the next LNC, if they have eager beavers on the LNC that really want to do convention oversight, they can always change this back. This is never meant to be written in stone. We also took out who were recommended by the Convention Oversight Committee. A wise LNC is going to ask the Convention Oversight Committee. We did not need to make that as mandatory. And here, when we get the standing rules, is where section 2.02 that's in the wrong place will just get moved. There's no changes made to these moves. Okay, affiliate relations. This is not a special rule of order. This is a standing rule, so it needs to be moved. That's why it's marked in green. There are no changes. It's just moving it to the proper place in the policy manual. So to keep going, one moment. Committee scope and responsibilities. This is a special rule of order. This needs to get moved up to the special rules of order, where that committee chart is we were just looking at. If people got confused in the past, where you had to look in 2 different spots in the policy manual to find out about committees, that this will fix that. And I believe it's under contractual matters that we did the related parties proposal. I just have to, it's under legal matters right here. So this is in the wrong spot, needs to get moved up to special rules of order. But this language in blue is what we are proposing to add to this section. Any proposed contracts or agreements for financial remuneration with a closely related party, open paren, legal relative, domestic partner, business associate, close paren, to a sitting LNC member or staff member shall be disclosed to the LNC prior to execution and shall be approved by a 2/3 vote of the executive committee or a majority vote of the LNC. This relation shall also be disclosed on the LNC members listing of potential conflicts of interest. And we thought that kept things simple, and I think that's it for the changes. Section 1.05, which was the data sharing for affiliates, gets moved here in the blue. And I believe that was it. Ms. Yanuskavich, did you have anything you wish to add?
No, I think you covered it, Ms. Harlos. It's pretty straightforward. Moving things around and simplifying some committees. So thank you.
So in order to have this comes out of committees, Madam Chair, so I don't believe it needs a second, but the committee will move these changes in bulk.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Mr. Ford, we'll move to discussion.
My takeaway from the discussion about the related party conversation was that we were going to move to specifically forbid them, not subject them to a vote of the LNC. You know, particularly with regard to personal relationships existing within the party. Where does that stand? Or was
I
I
don't-
mistaken?
I don't recall that we were going to move to forbid them.
We were not. I could pull up the motion where the instruction was given to the policy manual committee. I'm trying to find it here. Looks like I duplicated a ballot. I might not. Hold on. Does anyone remember what date? Right here. Approved post hoc the contract of Austin Paget. However, the contract shall not be renewed past the already agreed expiration date of 10/26/23. Further, the policy manual review committee is directed to craft policy manual language to address hiring of related persons for the LNC's consideration. So the type of language was left up to the policy manual committee, and that's the language we're proposing.
Thank you, Madam
So-
Secretary. Any other comments?
I do. I don't know if I have to do this at convention, Karen, and you can sort of guide me. I really think we should be working to eliminate related hires. And it's for all the conversations we've had about it, I'm not sure how much to permit related hires.
Okay. Any other discussion?
Madam Chair, my controls are hidden. So here they go. But if I can, since there were no other hands.
Sure, absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Here's the thing, Mr. Ford. Anything in the policy manual can be suspended with a 2/3 vote. So prohibiting it in the policy manual doesn't do anything because it can be suspended. So that's why I crafted this language to have it approved with the 2/3 vote of the executive committee or a majority vote of the LNC. And actually, it can be suspended by a majority of the LNC. We could put up the entire LNC to make it more of what standing rules can be. But there isn't any way to prohibit it. Even if this was in the bylaws, that bylaw is suspendable. Bylaws in the nature of a rule of order are suspendable. There's no way to meaningfully prohibit it. So the way to handle it is to put down a procedure rather than just have it be suspendable. We can put it now, if we put a higher vote threshold and then put it can't be suspended, that possibly could get into the bylaws, which would have to be at convention. But what we can do now is this. We can put in the policy manual if we want, and this is in the standing rules that it's prohibited, but I can tell you that's a paper tiger because that can be suspended.
Thank you, Ms. Harlos. Passing a suspension.
Can I just respond to that briefly? Thank you first of all for that guidance. And I think that's what I'm going to be moving forward to try and do. And again, I want to be clear that it has nothing to do with any current situations. It's just that hiring family and hiring related people, and particularly in an organization like this, is just a terrible idea. It just doesn't work, and it can work. And I'm not doubting the goodwill of the people who are involved in this current situation. So I want to separate those two. But moving forward, I've worked in plenty of organizations that have specific rules against and to your point, Karen, I obviously those rules are fungible, they're changeable, but a lot of people have spoken with a clear voice on this, and I'm wondering what the procedure is to have to raise the percentage right now on a moving forward basis, so that it's say a 7/8 majority of the board.
Okay.
So if you could guide me on that, I'm grateful.
Thank you, Mr. Ford. We really need to jump to Mr. Nana first.
Yeah, and I think I might already know the answer to the question. I'm just curious why 2/3 of the executive committee or a majority vote of the LNC? Is it because that kind of matches other portions of the policy manual? Is that kind of the rationale there?
That's a question for our secretary.
Yeah, I could tell you the rationale was that even though we meet quite regularly, sometimes when there is a proposed contract, it cannot necessarily wait till the next LNC meeting. And the executive committee operates on which much less people and a shorter time frame to get an electronic meeting scheduled. We have a standing rule, special rule of order right now where we're meeting monthly. As you know, that didn't work out last term, and we don't know what the next term will do. So I was trying to craft something workable for a typical LNC. And I'm sorry.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I was just going to say any decision made by the executive committee can be overturned by a majority LNC anyhow. So it kind of works both ways, right?
Yes.
Okay. That's all I wanted to know. Thanks.
To address Mr. Ford's point, changing it to a 7/8, again, is a paper tiger. It can still be suspended by a 2/3 vote. It's a special rule of order. The only thing that could prohibit that is if you try to put something into the bylaws and then also add to the bylaws that the rule can't be suspended. That's the only way to accomplish what you're trying to accomplish. It cannot be accomplished in the policy manual.
Thank you, Ms. Harlos. Okay, any further discussion? And if there's...
I do actually, I'm sorry, I was
Okay.
answering questions. I have a debate point.
Okay.
I can tell you, and I know this won't be popular with everyone, I am chair of the bylaws committee. I would not be in favor, though I'm just one vote. I don't have any kind of, special privilege. And I generally don't vote unless it's to cause or break a tie, but I would not be in favor of putting this in the bylaws. Because what if we have somebody, let's say Andy Jacobs gets married and his wife's on the LNC, can Andy Jacobs now no longer be a paid petitioner? There are unintended consequences.
Yep.
And I would not be in favor of that. I mentioned I'm not going to say what term it was, but in a past LNC, when there was a bit of a crisis situation, I couldn't do it, but I was informally asked to go to DC for a month and help do stuff at home office. Like, would that not be allowed in a pinch? I do not think we should, through our bylaws, potentially cripple the party in a way that's not foreseen. I would be in favor, potentially, of having a non-suspendable rule in the bylaws that requires maybe a higher vote threshold, but not an absolute prohibition.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Harlos. Is Mr. Nana, you have your hand up?
Yeah, just one quick thing. It reminded me when we started talking again. Should we maybe make it a majority vote of the disinterested members of the LNC in case some future LNC someone decides they want to vote on a motion they should really recuse themselves from?
Is it going to be abused and weaponized to decide who is an interested party?
I would say the only interested party would be the one who is like related to that person, right? And then it would only get weird if it was like more than one LNC member at a time.
Madam Secretary, do you have an opinion on that?
I don't see a problem with it saying a majority vote of the non-related members of the LNC, because then it defines it rather than not just disinterested, because I'm just going to use the current situation. I think it's obvious that I consider myself very good friends with Angela. Would I be disinterested? I think when you just start saying disinterested, it can be weaponized. But if we say non-related, because this is about related closely, non-closely, we'd have to come up with some wording, but I wouldn't have.
I have a suggestion. I think we should stick with this language for now. And if somebody wants to make some further edits after taking some time to think about the careful wording, I think that's the best way to go about it. Because if we slap something on there now, it's in 2 weeks or whatever, someone's going to say, aha, that wasn't the right way to do it.
Madam Chair, can I call the question, please? Martin speaking.
Hold that thought because Mr. Malagon had his hand up, but I'm going to jump you in line right next. Mr. Malagon?
Thank you, Madam Chair. You kind of took the words out of my mouth with just keeping it as it is. I'll also just throw this out there. I think that it would behoove us for this to pass because while we're sitting here talking about potential conflicts of interest, we're too small of an organization to not really tap into resources. We have a very small bench, so I think it really behooves us to pass something like this. We can't just pass on something like this or on a person because of a potential relationship issue. We do again have a very small bench, and it's imperative that we use all of the talent at our disposal to get things accomplished. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Cowan?
Call the question, please.
Okay, any objection to calling the question?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, we need to go to a vote. Question has been called. All in favor of calling the question. Let's see, what's the right way to do this? On a Zoom call. Madam Secretary, do you have a suggestion that makes this easier?
I think for something like this, which isn't, I'm not going to say it's inconsequential, but it's not really a decision, that we could ask LNC members to raise their hands.
Yeah, use the raise hand function.
Let me lower
Good
mine.
idea. All in favor of calling the question, please raise your hand. Give me just a moment to count. Leave them up. Okay, hands down. Okay, all opposed to calling the question? Okay, I counted, okay, there's 4. I counted 10 raised hands and I count at the most 4 opposed. Did I have the same count?
I think in either event, it passes.
Okay. All right, just want to make sure I'm calling it right. Okay, question has been called. Okay, so we spent quite a bit of time in discussion. Can you refresh our memory on what we're actually going to go to a vote on at this point?
It would be the bulk of changes. It would be to move around those several sections that were in the wrong place without change. And then legal matters, once it did get moved to the proper place, would be adding this related party language. It would also be those changes to the Affiliate Support Committee, the Convention Oversight Committee, and the adding of those 2 pro forma items to the format of the standing agenda.
Okay, does everyone understand what we're voting on? We're not voting on just one piece. Okay, I believe we should go to a roll call vote. So, Madam Secretary, whenever you're ready, we will do that.
Okay, one moment. And this I'm just going to put for motion text will be bulk PM changes. Mr. Cowan,
Yes.
Mr. Blankenship, is Mr. Blankenship not here? I will come back to him. Mr. Hyman,
Yes.
Mr. Ford,
Abstain. Express.
Mr. Hagopian,
Yes.
Mr. Heyman.
Yes.
I will vote yes. I still have Mr. Malagon in the wrong spot. Mr. Malagon.
Classic. Always the brown guy. Aye.
Okay, I need to add Ms. Hayes above here. Give me 1 second. Insert row above. Ms. Hayes.
Yes.
I need to correct my template in between. Okay. Mr. Nana.
Yes.
Mr. Nikhil's not here. Ms. Vest isn't here. Mr. Rufo's not here. Mr. Redpath.
Yes.
Ms. Yanuskavich.
Yes.
Mr. Watkins.
Yes.
Mr. Blankenship. Did we lose him?
I swear I just saw him when we raised hands.
Let me check.
It looks like we did lose him, but he was there for the hand raise initially.
Just
There's
one
a
second.
There's a caller in here now too. I'm not sure who that
He'll
is.
be right on. He said someone called him and it hung up. He was on his
Okay.
phone.
All right, well, but Madam Chair, it is 11:01.
Okay, the motion passes. Chair's not voting.
And, oh, Mr. Blankenship just came in.
Yeah.
He can vote.
Yeah, let's let him vote.
Mr. Blankenship? Might take a moment for his audio to connect.
You might have to ask the question again. I think his audio just connected.
Okay, Mr. Blankenship, we are voting on those policy manuals changes, all of them?
I am a yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, 12:02, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. All right, so let's jump to the next agenda item. Business agenda. Okay, it's interim credentials committee chair, noticed by Madam Secretary.
Yes, Madam Chair, I would like to move to appoint Josh Lavka as the interim credentials committee chair.
Okay,
I can speak to it if we have a second.
yep. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, fantastic. Madam Secretary, please speak to your appointment.
Certainly, Josh is experienced from the last committee, and also I had asked the committee themselves who was interested, and Mr. Halapka indicated he's interested and he has the support of the committee.
Okay. Okay, any discussion? Any questions? Any questions from any LNC members? Oh, Mr. Ford, go right ahead.
Yeah, I would also like to speak in support. As I mentioned at the last meeting, having attended one of the meetings in real time in Reno, I would argue that Mr. Latkin, in his own way, possibly saved the convention from descending into chaos in a highly emotional, highly charged situation. He was clear-headed, observed, and not only but the written rules, and came to a conclusion that I think was fair and just. Again, if you weren't there, there was a lot of stress and a lot of pressure from a lot of people. So I think he would be a very, very wise choice. And if it's at all possible, again, my parliamentary techniques are not great, but I would love to rise in a claim in his support of his. And if it's possible to call the question on a vote, I would like to do so.
Okay, Madam Secretary, question was, yeah?
Yeah, I was gonna say the question was called, so I can't.
Yep, I thought maybe you were gonna jump in and say, yes, it's possible. Yes, the question has been called. Any objection to calling the question?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would object. Yes.
Okay, it has been objected to. Calling the question. We're gonna go to a vote. Everybody hands down. All in favor of calling the question, hand up. And give me a minute, leave them up. Okay, I've got 4 in favor of calling the question, hands down. All opposed to calling the question, hands up. All right, I've got 7 opposed to calling the question, 4 in favor of it. Is this a simple majority of those voting?
It's a 2/3 vote, so it fails.
Okay. All right, question is not called. I believe I had everybody put their hands down. We had Ms. Harlos, and then we had Mr. Adrian Maladon. So Ms. Harlos, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. And I would, oh, never mind. I'm not going to say anything on the calling the question thing. All I wanted to say, while it was still appropriate, was to express, and I don't know if this is the desire of the LNC, other people can speak in favor or against. I think we desperately need a credentials committee manual that would have helped last term. So I'd encourage Mr. Halapka. We can't order the credentials committee to do anything, but I would highly, highly urge him that during this downtime, because you guys can't meet till next year, because the states have until like February, I think it is, to make their appointments. So during this downtime, if you could work on creating that committee, I think you're the person qualified to do it. And that will help your committee when you're in the scramble to do what you need to do for convention. And it will be a blessing to future committees. So I'd highly encourage you to do that. And I would be more than willing to make myself available to assist from the perspective of problems I've seen as a secretary, as far as record keeping for delegate lists and things like that. But if you don't want my help, that is fine as well. Just making myself available.
Okay, thank you very much, Madam Secretary. I believe next we had Mr. Adrian Malagon, and then we're going to jump to Ms. Hayes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If it's appropriate, I believe Mr. Halaka said that he would speak to his nomination. If the committee would indulge my ignorance, I'm not familiar with him. I would like to hear what he has to say before any sort of decision is made, assuming that that's appropriate at this time.
Is there any objection to hearing from Mr. Halaka? Going once, going twice. Hearing none. Yeah, we would love to hear from you.
Excellent. Thank you, Madam Chair. Don't know what to say that kind of hasn't already been said about me. I served on last term's credentials committee. I enjoyed the experience. I understand the value of the credentials committee and the importance of the responsibility instilled by the membership and the LNC to the credentials committee. So I'd love to serve on there. Kind of to touch on what Ms. Harlos had asked about a policy manual, that's already been something discussed among the elected members, and we intend to put something together to have it ready for not only this year, but for future committees. So if there's any questions more specifically that anybody on the LNC would like to know, I'd be glad to hear it, or, would love to answer those questions. But, just to give you a little brief intro about me for Mr. Malagon, outside of that, I currently serve as the chairman of the Libertarian Party of Florida, and I am a current Libertarian candidate down here running for state representative for District 105. So once again, any specific questions, happy to answer.
Let me ask real quick, and then let's jump to Mr. Malagon. Last year was really stressful. I think you and your team handled it really well. Are you prepared for a potentially stressful year in 2024?
Yes, I kind of already gotten the idea that it's going to be another interesting, stressful year. That was why I volunteered my services again for this year. So I'm well mentally and emotionally prepared to go through the challenges that are going to present itself over the next 6 to 9 months leading into convention.
Thank you. Let's turn it over to Mr. Malagon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just had a couple of questions if Mr. Habaka wouldn't mind indulging me. As most people on this board know, I am no stranger to controversy and things being said about me. So I have heard some things. While I'm not familiar with him myself, and I appreciate him being on this call to speak to his nomination, I have heard whispers about, the promotions of disaffiliations of states, perhaps conflicts with different members or different factions within the LP. So I was wondering if Mr. Halaka wouldn't mind speaking to that and perhaps putting some of our minds at ease.
Disaffiliation should come for very far and few between reasons on both sides of the aisle, I believe. I haven't heard any of those rumors myself. As far as factional concerns, I believe I've shown time and time again during my time as part of the LP is that, I'm able to work with legitimately almost anybody who wants to work with me. If you don't want to work with me, then that's fine. You don't have to work with me. I'm not going to force you to, but anybody who comes forward who's willing to work with me in good faith, I'm going to give a good faith option to work back with
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. If there's no further questions or discussions, I think it's about time for us to go to a vote.
Okay, one moment. I'm just setting up the template.
Thank you. And while we're waiting on that, Mr. Watkins, do you mind being our timekeeper for the next,
Yeah, I got you.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Cowan,
Yes.
Mr. Blankenship,
Enthusiastically, yes.
Mr. Hyman,
Yes.
Mr. Ford,
Yes.
Mr. Hagopian,
Yes.
Mr. Heyman,
I will abstain.
I will vote yes. Ms. Hayes,
I'm going to abstain.
Mr. Maligan,
Abstain.
Mr. Nana,
Yeah.
Mr. Redpath,
Yes.
Ms. Yanuskavich,
Yes.
Mr. Watkins.
Yes.
Madam Chair, it's 10-0-3.
What does this require? Simple majority?
Yes.
Okay, the chair won't vote on it then. Thank you so much, Mr. Hlavka. Congratulations on getting appointed to a really difficult job. I really appreciate you stepping up, and I will be in touch with you, as our secretary will as well, to make sure you've got everything you need going forward to make your job as easy as possible. Okay, let's jump to our next agenda item, and that is just kidding. Resolution for November e-meeting. Madam Secretary?
Yes, I would move that our special rule of order would have us not meet in November because it's within 30 days of an in-person meeting, but I do think these meetings are productive. So I would move that we in fact do set a monthly November e-meeting for November 5th, which is the first Sunday where it would normally be at 7 p.m. Eastern.
Thank you. I anticipate we're going to hear some concerns about the date, but I agree we need to meet. Mr. Nana?
Can we do it after the election, please? Pretty please?
That's what I thought you were going to say.
There was no second, so I don't mind amending my motion to
Right.
be 12.
That's why I called it him before asking for a second. So would everyone be okay with, let me look at the calendar really quick. Oh, thanks, Windows 11. I can't navigate. Okay, instead of November 5th, it would be November 12th. I agree. It's really important that we meet before our budget meeting. I think I would be calling this anyway, essentially. Okay. Okay, and at this point, do we have a second?
You said November 12th. If that's what I heard, then yes.
Yes. Mr. Watkins, I apologize for ruining Diwali. Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we meet November 12th. Any further discussion? Any objection? Going once, going twice. Okay, I'm going to say hearing no objection, the motion passes. Ta-da! Knock that one out very quickly. Okay, thank you very much, Madam Secretary. It was great. Okay, financials and goals check-in. I apologize. I should have pushed this further down the agenda to have part of it, but not all of it, in executive session. Do you want me to give a really short update and we can skip executive session on this?
Yes, please.
You got it.
You'd be okay with that?
We made over $102,000 last month in September. It's the first time we've broken triple digits, maybe the entire year, at least since like the beginning of the year. It's the third time that we've broken $90,000 in the entire calendar year. It's a really, like, I know that we all need to be making more than that, but this is a really significant milestone. Staff worked really hard. I pushed them a whole lot. I try to treat them really well in that process and tell them that I appreciate them, and their efforts really paid off. So I really want to commend them. We are like on the track to recovering our finances, even though we've lost a massive amount of recurring revenue from the failed Razor's Edge migration. So did we get that money back? Have we recovered our recurring revenue? No, we have not. This has been because we pushed several major projects. So what we did is we had the conservatorship, we had a membership card contest, we had the LP store, we launched Voter Gravity, we had the affiliate cookbook, we had the convention revenue or the convention website launch with package sales. We had a ballot access fundraiser. We launched a ton of stuff. We are going to be launching more things. So our finances are looking like finally on the up and up, and we're going to continue to do that. Some of the other goals that I set for us in 90 days was also to become more customer service oriented. That is also happening. That is a really good thing. I have been working with staff behind the scenes, and so has Mr. Malagon, to fix a lot of the membership report problems. And that's been going well, and it's been making a lot of progress. So for those of you who are in states that have unified membership, sharing, that's getting fixed. It has already technically been fixed. I hem and haw over what if we have one or two additional problems. I haven't seen them yet. I've just been so, traumatized over the amount of technical debt that we inherited that I'm convinced maybe there's one or two other things that are going wrong, but everything is on the right track. The way that we are calculating memberships now has changed. And this is going to be like really painful for a lot of people. And I was not really happy about it. And I really debated whether or not we should even do this change, but it's the right thing to do. And it needs to be in accordance with our bylaws. And we were previously, if anybody donated $5 a month, we just sort of like, when that person started donating $5 a month, we would count their membership from that point on. And that's not correct. You need to be paying at least $25 a year to have a basic membership. And so it's from the point that you start, that you accumulate $25 on during that rest of that year, that's when your membership is active. So there are going to be some months throughout the year where if you're donating $5 a month, you don't have a full membership. We're going to have to really hustle over the next month to communicate that to all of our members and to have our state of affiliates communicate that as well. I also anticipate that we're going to probably have, some parliamentary discussions about this, and that's fine, and I welcome it. And I anticipate I'm going to have some questions about it right now. But this is where we're starting at in our fix. Couple of other things. I know there are some states that have moved off of CiviCRM, or they're intending to do so. Now, I want to speak to the customer service portion of that. We have been extremely overwhelmed and just been unable to keep up with help requests. And it's not because we didn't intend to or that we didn't see any value in it. It's just we simply couldn't do it. And I've hired on additional staff to help with that. And it's going to be less painful for you in the future. But it is a real question as to whether or not we would ever be able to service 50 affiliates on CiviCRM. And rather than make that decision myself, I'm really speaking to, I want to talk to state chairs and to our staff and to some IT consultants on whether or not that's feasible. I think that most of our money really needs to be going towards supporting affiliates in some manner in candidates and being a national political party, and a little bit less IT focused. I don't have a solid answer for you on how that's going to turn out, but I want you to know that I'm spending a lot of attention on it and time so that we can get you an honest, truthful answer and get you that answer as quickly as possible so that we can alleviate your pain as much as possible and help you be successful. We've also had a couple of proposals for state level CRMs, not national, state level CRMs for people who want to move off and they're frustrated and they don't know where to turn. I have a couple of things that might provide solutions for you. And that wouldn't be anything that really involves national other than me connecting you with something. So to clarify, you're not jumping onto a new plan or proposal I have. I'd be essentially networking with you. Financial goals and check-in. I think that about covers everything that I have. And I see some hands up. Let's jump to Ms. Harless.
Oh, I thought other people were ahead of me.
Oh, were they?
I believe everyone was ahead
Okay.
of me.
Okay, you got it. Mr. Ford.
Madam Chair, what would you point to as our biggest improvement success this month? And, what would you attribute it to?
It's a change in priorities that I pushed through, and it's really hard work of staff and very focused follow through on that shift in priorities. So what we've done is we've shifted to fundraising being the number one priority and customer service being the second priority. And last month it was operations that was the number one, or the previous month it was operational repair was the number one priority. Fundraising was second, customer service was third. So now we've moved operational repair out of the way and we're at fundraising. And now I'm about to move fundraising to number two now that it's established and put customer service at number one. I hope that makes sense. Mr. Malagon?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just two quick things. I have had several state chairs reach out to me and ask me how California operates. We don't use Civi. Be more than happy to explain what we use and see if it's a good system for you. I don't think any CRM is perfect, but it's a matter of whether it suits your needs. Neon does serve California's needs. Again, not perfect, but it serves us well. And I'd be happy to speak to other state chairs, additional state chairs that wish to ask a little bit more about that. And also I have to imagine on some level, you may have said it and I may have missed it, and apologies if you did. But as far as the financials, I have to imagine that the new LP store helped a little bit in that respect. And I thank Miss Carrie Eiler here from California, my predecessor, well, now technically, no, still technically my predecessor from, as the Region 4 representative. And I'm drinking from this very exquisite mug that I bought from the store. So I'd encourage people to visit it, and I'm promoting it here in California. Great quality stuff. So thank you all, and specifically Miss Eiler for helping with all that.
Yeah, store was also a huge part of it. The store, like, not only is it generating revenue, but I think it's generating excitement and buzz for us. And it's something where we're going to be releasing limited edition merch as well. So everybody, please be paying attention to that. It was a tremendous amount of work by Ms. Eiler and by staff, like over 100 hours easily. So yeah, I really appreciate that, like a whole lot. And I hope everybody goes and buys stuff. But these are the kind of really cool projects that we're going to be continuing to launch through the end of the year. This is the stuff that makes us like successful and makes people really excited. And Voter Gravity is launched. And I'll be sharing Monday or Tuesday with all the state chairs how you'll be able to go in and approve your candidates so that they can have access to it, because we need your help vetting individuals, and we're going to err on the side of letting people have it more than not. So if you're a state chair and you're very, very slow to respond, that means someone from the candidate support committee or myself or the vice chair, we're going to go in and approve people after we, try to get in touch with you. But yeah, that's going to be something that's going to be a game changer too. Ms. Harlows.
I wanted to encourage people to pay attention to what's going on in the bylaws committee when it comes to membership. The issue you had talked about with $25 in the past year. There is a change that passed out of bylaws. Whether it'll pass the floor is another matter. But what I don't think people realize, and I'd like to make clear here, is say you have a member that started in January giving $5 a month. They will not become a sustaining member until May, which is their fifth payment of $25. Let's say they cancel their $5 monthly payments in May. They don't give any more the rest of the year. When does their membership expire? Does it expire in January? or May. Most people, when they become a member, think they have a year long, but they don't. It expires when the first $5 drops off the following January. This is a gargantuan task for any CRM to handle properly. What the bylaws committee is proposing, some people have said, well, this is going to cost us monthly donors. I don't know, but I do know what we have now is not working. And the change that the bylaws committee has proposed is that dues have to be a single payment of $25 or whatever the amount of dues are. So they get a year and it's easy to track. Whether that passes or not is another matter, but this is an issue. It's been an issue for the entire time I've been on the LNC on how we can, and plus, is it the end of January that it expires? Because it says 12 months. Is this like Jesus in the tomb where a portion of a month counts as a whole month? So also the bylaws committee is saying within the past 365 days. So at least we can have it narrowed down to a day. I know some people are going to go, but what about the seconds? Yeah, get over it. But narrowing it down to a day, it doesn't give people a free month either, or potentially have a free month. It's really a mess.
Yeah.
Mr. Dassing, it's entering.
So thank you, Ms. Harlos. From a customer service perspective, I was really unhappy with and a fundraising perspective, I was really unhappy with making this announcement, but it's the right thing to do. So I'm doing it. What I am going to try to do over the next month is really do a lot of outreach with state affiliates so that you all know what's going on, so that you have an opportunity to reach out to your members, increase your delegate count if you so choose, and to provide, support from national staff on making sure that we reach out to your state members and that we encourage them to renew, and that we're, taking the right tone when we say, I appreciate your $5 donation, but, and of course that's not going to impact every single person who donates $5 a month, but it is going to impact a chunk of them. Does anybody else have their hand up? If not, if there's no other questions, that's all I've got for that agenda item. In summary, we are on the right track. We are doing a financial turnaround. I'm still committed to trying to repair some of the damage that was done with recurring donations. The information is gone. It's not coming back. We're going to have to work on that, but we're going to work on it, and we're going to work our asses off. Okay, let's jump to our next agenda item. And that is ballot access update with Mr. Nana.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I'll give you guys a brief update on the things that have been going on since the last time I gave you an update. So the Ballot Access Committee continues to meet bi-weekly. We have another meeting tomorrow night. So it's been just about 2 weeks since we met. So anybody else from the committee, specifically Mr. Redpath, can chime in if he has updated information. But right now, we've got right around, last I heard, 3,000 signatures in North Dakota. So that drive is still ongoing. The next drive we anticipate doing would be New Mexico. It's going to take us just over 3,500 signatures there. We were waiting on New Mexico to get us some volunteer numbers and what they thought they would realistically be able to kick in. But honestly, with them being a new affiliate, we pretty much assume that we're going to be basically running that drive 100% ourselves, which is fine. So I assume we will talk about that at tomorrow's meeting and come up with a recommendation for how we can fund that drive. The paid portion of the Arkansas drive is done. I think they had 14,000 signatures just about last time we received an update there. So they're trying to close that out with volunteers before they file that petition. We have legal action in Tennessee that you guys authorized. I don't think that's been filed yet. At least it hasn't as of about 2 weeks ago. I think the attorney was waiting on a payment to come through the mail so that he could file that lawsuit. So we also have a petition drive in Ohio that we have not made a recommendation to fund yet. It's still in its infancy. We have collected approximately 300 to 400 signatures. There might be some in the mail on the way to our PO box that we aren't aware of. We have Chase Oliver, who will be touring through Ohio early this month, and he has agreed to collect signatures and amass volunteers to collect signatures at the different stops he makes throughout the state. So we hope to get some more from that. And then we hope to organize a volunteer effort at the polls in November to get some more signatures. Looks like the Green Party is not going to be doing a petition drive in Ohio. as we may have thought. So probably not a lot of opportunity to do shared petitioning. So that makes the drive a little bit more expensive. I have an executive committee meeting next week with the state party to discuss how much money, if any, the state will be able to kick in towards any sort of a funded drive in Ohio. But unless Mr. Redpath has any other updates, those are the key points I wanted to talk about.
Yes, I do have a few updates. First of all, with respect to the Tennessee litigation, I am in contact at least weekly with Jim Linger, who's an attorney in Tulsa, who's going to be handling this litigation. My understanding is that the LP of Tennessee sent $2,500 to him, and he received that check. Then the LNC sent $2,500 to the LPTN, and the LPTN was supposed to write another check for $2,500. Supposedly they've done so, but that check has gotten lost in the mail. I don't know how important it is to Jim to get the full 5,000 in. He also he wanted to get some more plaintiffs, some more individual plaintiffs, and wanted to line up a couple more people. I'm going to probably call him tomorrow to get a further update. By the way, you mentioned a meeting tomorrow. Isn't the meeting on Tuesday for ballot access?
That's what I meant to say. Yeah, on Tuesday.
All right. I just found out today that the Green Party is not going to move forward in Ohio with another independent petition. I thought that we would have a situation where we could save some money by double petitioning, but at least right now that isn't the case. But I want to say that I think that the news is out now that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is going to run for president as an independent. That is very bad news, I think, on the ballot access front, assuming he or PACs associated with his campaign can raise serious money, because we're probably looking at no labels, which we all know has big money. And Robert F. Kennedy Jr. running as an independent, I presume, is going to try to get on the ballot in all 50 states in DC. He's going to have to petition in all 50 states in DC to do that if he runs as an independent. This is going to drive up demand for petitioning manpower, drive up costs. So I think that we need to move forward with what we can do. We need to do what we need to do as soon as we can. And we need to get the Ohio drive going on a paid basis, because it doesn't look like it's going to be feasible, all volunteer. And Kentucky starts on Wednesday, November 8th, legally. And I don't know how things are. My understanding is the email to Ohio party members went out from national. I'd certainly like some feedback as to how that's going. I don't know who is compiling responses to that, any sort of pledges, things like that. But we should not delay a paid petition drive in Ohio any longer. I think it's important to get that going ASAP, and definitely in October.
So Mr. Redpath, a couple of things. I'm sorry to hear that about the Green Party in Ohio. That's really disappointing. We can chat offline about Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s run. I can share some information on that. Paid petition drive for Ohio. If we can talk about this a little bit, but if we want there to be an XCOM meeting, if we want to just do an email motion regarding the funding for it, as long as we've got some sort of plan set up and we can share that, let's just take care of it. I'm very in favor of just knocking that out.
I think that's fine, but we do need input from the Ohio LP. Dustin Nana said there's a meeting coming up, but the sooner the better that we get a read on volunteer effort there and find out how much the LPOH is willing to put in monetarily, and then the difference will probably have to come from the LNC.
Yep. And I just had someone reach out to me who wanted to help in Ohio. He said he hadn't been active in a little while, but he was really interested in helping to gather signatures. So I'll connect you with him, and I'll connect Dustin Nana with him as well.
Thank you.
Okay. I see Mr. Ford's hands up.
Briefly, the Libertarian Party of Maine is having no less than 3 major registration events in the coming weeks. Anyone in the Northeast or anyone anywhere who would like to travel and see New England at its finest, we'll be given an opportunity to share some hotel rooms that are going to be allocated in Portland next weekend. I'll be posting this to the list next weekend, the weekend after, and then their convention in November. So they are well underway. But again, there's an opportunity for folks to support the Libertarian Party. They need it monetarily, or what we really need right now, because the Libertarian National Committee was generous, is boots on the ground. And I'll just leave with this thought. It's critical to our DNA as a party that we start understanding the need for volunteers to cross-affiliate support their brother and sister libertarians on these petition drives. Everyone who shows up, and to Mr. to Bill's comments, the cost of paid petitioning is going to skyrocket. Everyone who shows up and gets anything done at all is just a net positive. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ford. Mr. Redpath?
Yes, I am actually going to Maine this coming Friday. I'm flying to Portland this coming Friday, returning to Chicago on Sunday afternoon. Next week, I'll be out there for a couple of days this coming weekend.
Thank you very much, Mr. Redpath, for doing that. Okay, any other discussion on this agenda item? If not, going once, going twice. No hands up. I don't think. Nope. Okay, let's jump to our next agenda item, which is Convention Oversight Committee update and filling of vacancy. So let's take this piece by piece. Let's start with Mr. Malagon. Sorry, my apologies to Mr. Blankenship.
Wait.
Your name was misspelled.
I'm sorry. Could you repeat yourself, Madam Chair?
It's Convention Oversight Committee update. That part I think would be, yeah, you, and then vacancy, or Jennifer Hobbing to committee vacancy. That part would go to me.
Okay, so as you all know, we still don't have a chair of the Convention Oversight Committee. I believe we're voting on that later today. We have made strides as far as the website being up, which is fantastic. We've also made strides as to what we're offering the speakers. I've been working with the chair on that. We have we were able to change the COC Google group, which is good. We were able to reroute all sort of questions to myself or the chair, the LNC chair, so Ms. McArdle, for responding to any sort of inquiries that come through. We have had a few legitimate ones, some Russian bots and just some general weirdness, because this is the Libertarian Party after all. But we should be meeting this Wednesday again, and we'll be reconvening after a chair is selected for, I suppose the rest of the year, every 2 weeks starting this Wednesday. So we will have more updates soon. We will be promoting convention and encouraging people to buy packages on a cadence. I've been working with Mr. Troxel on that to ensure that anytime that there's an update, significant or otherwise, we send out an email, but that it is not in conflict with the activities calendar. We should also be selecting a menu soon and making sure. My priority here, as I've already stressed to the committee, is to ensure that we actually don't lose, that everyone gets their bang for their buck here. So we're saving as much money as possible by not overspending on things that are unnecessary. I was able to save the California convention this way when I was tasked with sharing that, last year, and I'm doing it again this year. So a lot of overlap here, but good things to come on the Convention Oversight Committee front.
Thank you. Anything from Mr. Blankenship? If not, I'm going to jump to my section.
No, I think you covered everything very well.
Thank you very much. So I reached out to Ms. Hobbing just recently, and guess what? She has fortunately taken on a position with a campaign that's not going to allow her to have as much time. So what I'm going to propose we do instead is go to an email ballot. We're just going to strike this, and we're going to take nominations to fill the spot, and then we're going to go to an email ballot, and I'm going to send an email about that after this meeting concludes. Okay, any questions on anything from that agenda item?
Well, part of the agenda item was also filling the vacancy in the committee chair.
Oh, that's right. Okay, so I'll make a nomination if we want to go ahead and just go straight to nominations. Going once, going
Yes.
twice. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and nominate Adrienne Malagon to be Convention Committee Chair.
Second.
All right. It's been moved and seconded that Mr. Malagon be Convention Oversight Committee Chair. Do we have any other nominations? And before you nominate someone, please make sure you've checked with them.
No one
Okay.
checked with me. I just want to say that for the record. This is coming as a complete shock to me.
That
I'm
is
just
a
kidding.
dirty lie, and you are so out of order right now. Okay, so going once, going twice. I think I'd like to just do a voice vote. Do we have any objections to appointing Mr. Malagon? Do you want to do a roll call vote, Madam
Oh,
Secretary?
no, I'm just sticking it in here because it will still need a motion number. So that's why I'm.
Got it. Any objections to appointing Mr. Malagon as COC chair? Going once, going twice. Okay, hearing no objections, you are appointed as chair of a committee that is requires a ton of work. So thank you so much for doing that, and thank you everyone else on the convention committee for stepping up and putting in a ton of work too. Okay, let's
Thank
jump.
you all for showing your contempt of me by not objecting.
That's right. Okay, let's jump to our next agenda item, and that is approval of DC in-person meeting minutes. My apologies, by Ms. Harlos.
She's. I think Mr. Nana has his hand raised. I don't
Oh,
know.
I'm so sorry, I missed it. Mr. Nana?
Well, I think this would be fast to dispense with, but I had a favor to ask of the committee. I was outside like all day yesterday. I got sunburned pretty good and during my campaign, and I'm a little sunsick today. I really don't feel too well. I was wondering if you guys could do me a huge favor and bump the 2 agenda items that I'm involved with so I can go get some sleep. I just do not feel very well.
Ballot access and censorship resolution. Okay, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna move to suspend the rules to amend the agenda to move agenda items 10 and 11 up in front of agenda item number 7. Does anybody want to give me a second? Awesome. Okay, it's been moved and seconded to suspend the rules to amend the agenda. Any objections? Going once, going twice. Requires a 2/3 vote. That's why I'm asking slowly. Okay, hearing no objections, the motion passes and the agenda is amended. So let me jump really quick to item number 10, appoint Bill Redpath to vacancy on Ballot Access Committee.
Do you want me to speak to it or do you want to speak to it, Madam Secretary?
You can go ahead and, oh yeah, whoever, and I'll have something to say on it as well.
Someone needs to move it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I would move to appoint Bill Redpath to the vacancy on Ballot Access Committee.
I will second.
And I'll speak to my motion. I think it's a no-brainer. I mean, he's already at every meeting. He's already intimately involved. I mean, I think, yeah, I mean, this is pretty much as close to a no-brainer as it gets. So
It'll make it a little bit easier.
Okay.
Thanks.
Madam Secretary, did you want to speak to it also?
Oh, I think Mr. Nana did so sufficiently, and Mr. Redpath is willing to be a victim.
Okay, great. There was another person that Andy Jacobs had suggested to join Ballot Access Committee. I'm most likely going to appoint that person to the Ballot Access Advisory Committee, just so everyone knows. I will get with you all about that off this meeting. Okay. If there's nothing else, we can go to a vote on that.
Is there any objection?
Yeah, if there's no objection, we're just going to do it this way. Wait, nope, no hands up. Okay. Okay, any objection to appointing Mr. Redpath to the Ballot Access Committee? Going once, going twice. Hearing no objection, Mr. Redpath is appointed. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
I really am delighted that you are on that. Okay, we're going to jump to the next agenda item, which is technically number 11, and it's censorship resolution.
Madam Secretary, if you want to put it up on the screen, and then I will. Do I need to move this?
Yes.
Yes, so I will move that resolution. And I'll wait till so people can see it to speak to it.
And
If it gets a second.
Ms. Harless has her hand up. 1 second.
Is my screen being shared or no?
It is not.
Okay,
No.
yeah, it keeps bumping it. I don't know why. Let's get that up there.
And it's up there now, but it's pretty small.
Let me see if I can. That's as large as it can go.
That's fine. So I would move this resolution opposing censorship in America's libraries. It was brought to me by a member of the LP and subsequently endorsed by one of my region chairs. And then I went and conferred with the rest of my region chairs, and they were all on board moving this motion. So if there's a second, I'll speak to it.
Madam Secretary?
I'm waiting for a second. Mr. Nana's aware of the interrupting motion I'm intending to make if there's a second.
Second.
Okay, Madam Chair, I have a privileged interrupting motion.
Yeah, please go right ahead.
I object to consideration of the question.
Okay, there you go.
I don't like the motion either, but why do you object to having it consider it?
When there's an objection to consideration of the question, the whole point is not to have debate. So
Yeah.
It's undebatable.
Yeah, we're gonna go to a vote on objecting to consideration of the question.
Point of inquiry, just procedurally, so is this kind of like, I've never heard this before, so I'm just curious how that works. Like, is it just similar to a calling the question?
It is
No.
similar to that.
Okay.
It avoids voting entirely. If Madam Chair would like, since this is not familiar, I've got my old version of Roberts, but I know it's the same language. The purpose of an objection to the consideration of a question is to enable the Assembly to avoid a particular original main motion altogether when it believes it would be strongly undesirable for the motion to come before the Assembly. It takes precedence over other motions. It doesn't require a second. It is not debatable. It is not amendable, and a 2/3 vote against consideration is required to sustain the objection.
Okay, it didn't even require a second. Okay, so we're just going to go straight to voting on objection to consideration of the question. Now, to be clear, it takes 2/3 to object.
To sustain the objection.
Point of parliamentary inquiry, just to piggyback off Mr. Watkins' initial question. So if this passes, we do not vote on the resolution at all. This is the main motion, essentially. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Thank you.
And Madam Secretary, I think I'm clear on it, but for clarification, a yes vote sustains the objection, a no vote would oppose the objection, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so if you also object to consideration of the question, you're voting yes. Okay, if and when we are ready, we're going to go to a vote, since this technically does not have, there's no debate. Madam Secretary, whenever you're ready, we'll do a roll call vote.
Mr. Cowan?
Yes.
Mr. Blankenship?
Pass.
Mr. Hyman?
Abstain.
Mr. Ford? Do we have Mr. Ford? I'll come back to him. Mr. Hagopian,
No.
Mr. Heyman,
Yes.
I will vote yes. Ms. Hayes,
I'll vote yes.
Mr. Malagon,
Aye.
Mr. Nana,
No.
Mr. Redpath,
Abstain.
Ms. Yanuskavich,
Abstain.
Mr. Watkins,
Yes.
going back to Mr. Ford,
No.
Madam Chair, it is 6-3 as it
Madam
currently.
Secretary, I passed, but I
Oh.
have not voted.
Oh, sorry. Who passed?
Mr. Blankenship.
Oh, you did.
I
Okay, sorry about that.
will vote yes.
Okay, thank you. And I apologize for that. Madam Chair, it is 7-3.
2/3. Okay, what's the vote threshold on this?
It's 2/3 of those present and voting, so you only look at the 7-3. You know, if a 2/3 has been reached, if the number of yeses is at least twice the amount of number of noes, which it is, so it does have a 2/3 vote.
It has a 2/3 vote already.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, chair's not voting, the motion passes. All right, thank you very much. We're going to jump to our next agenda item. Thank you, Mr. Nana. I understand you're tired and you need to get some rest. So we're going to go backwards to approval of DC in-person minutes, and that is noticed by Madam Secretary.
Go back up there. I think it's self-explanatory. I'm moving to approve the set of draft minutes that I had forwarded to the LNC list. Probably it's close to 3 weeks ago now, 2 weeks ago, of the draft DC minutes, which could not be done through the auto approval process because it was past the timeline due to my computer crash.
Second.
Okay. Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes for the DC meeting. Sorry, very tiny. Okay, do we need any discussion on this agenda item? Is there any objection to approving the minutes from the DC meeting? Okay, going once, going twice. Hearing no objection, the minutes are approved. Delightful. Okay, we're gonna, our next agenda item is to fill affiliate support committee vacancies. And that was noticed by me. Mr. Ford, can you tell us how many vacancies you currently have on the affiliate support committee?
Right now, I would say in terms of active members, we've actually got 4. We've got 2 LNC members and we've got 2 non-LNC members. If I read the rules correctly, that leaves us with an LNC opening and 2 non-LNC members opening.
Okay, great. So I think what I'd like to do is maybe do an email ballot right after this meeting. Could we open nominations for 48 hours, close them, and then just vote on it? Would everybody be comfortable with that?
Yes.
Okay, great. And the
So,
rules have been a
Madam Chair,
little bit.
if I'm correct, we're going to submit nominations.
Yeah, I believe
For a
so.
period of time and then vote on them?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, 48 hours, and then we'll just go to an email ballot. We'll do an OPA vote or whatever is easiest on our secretary. Okay, and then we'll, for reference, we're going to double check the revisions to the policy manual that we passed before nominating people and voting on it. So then you'll know who you can, who's eligible for a nomination. Okay, that's really all I had there. Let's jump to the next one, which is contract with Fresh IP Ray Trademark Maintenance, agendized by Ms. Harlows.
Yes, I'm not even sure a motion is required for this. I kind of leave it up to the chair, but I just wanted to make sure this gets done. So probably a motion is the best way. The former firm that was doing our trademark maintenance and Well, actually, I'm just going to move it and then I speak to it. I'm so sorry. So I move that the LNC instruct the chair to execute the power of attorney in order to switch over with the United States Trade and Patent Office our trademark maintenance contact to Fresh IP.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. To enter into a
In the
contract.
creepiest way possible. Can we just like acknowledge that for a minute? That was the creepiest second I've ever heard in my
That
life.
was the creepiest second I've ever heard. Okay. Now that we're all thoroughly creeped out, it's been moved and seconded to enter into a contract for trademark maintenance with Fresh IP. I think
have
because
total
it's
faith in y'all, but are we going to know the dollar number or not?
I can't discuss it in open session just because it's a contract amount and it's in like it's not proper to do that, but it's just market rate. It's not expensive, and we got a quote from them, so I can send that to everybody on the LNC afterwards if you want. But yeah, we double checked it first.
And I'd like to speak to my motion, Madam Chair.
Sure, absolutely.
No money's required right now. For those of you who do not know what we mean by trademark maintenance, in order to maintain your trademarks, you have to file certain statutory paperwork with the US PTO like every 7 years. And it's something that could easily fall through the cracks. None of those deadlines are coming up in our term, but we should have it in place where a future LNC term doesn't get blindsided by this. It's just kind of done automatically by the attorney. The USPTO just contacts them. They file the paperwork. I got the quotes. It's mostly fees that the government requires and a nominal amount that the attorney is requiring. They're requiring no money. There'll be no money this term. And if a future LNC, when it starts coming up to the deadline, doesn't like the fees or they think they can do it themselves or whatever, they could always just switch the POA. The power of attorney is what you have to execute with the government for the communications to get sent to the attorney.
Okay. Mr. Malagon?
Never mind. I'm sorry. The secretary answered my question.
Okay. Any further discussion on this agenda item? Okay. Hearing none, let's go to a vote. Since it's a contract, we'll go ahead and take a roll call vote. My apologies, Ms. Harlos.
Oh, no worries. Let me just copy that over. Need to copy a template. Mr. Cowan?
Yes.
Mr. Blankenship?
Yes.
Mr. Hyman? I'll come back. Mr. Ford? I'll come back. Mr. Hagopian?
Yes.
Mr. Heyman?
Yes.
I will vote yes. Ms. Hayes? I'll come back.
Yes.
Oh,
sorry about that.
Yeah.
I couldn't unmute for a reason.
Mr. Malagon?
Aye.
Mr. Nana's gone. Mr. Hirsch?
Yes. Yes.
Hirsch, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Mr. Redpath?
I'll abstain.
Ms. Yanuskavich?
Yes.
Mr. Watkins?
Yes.
Mr. Hyman?
I was having microphone trouble. Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Ford?
Yes.
Madam Chair, it's 12-0-1.
Okay, chair's not voting. Motion passes. All right, thank you all. The next item we have is Civi and staff update portions may be in executive session. It's agendized by Mr. Malagon. Mr. Malagon, would you like to share a little bit more about your motion and let us know if some of it can be public and then go into executive session, whatever you'd like.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I do believe that most of the most, if not everything, that would be allowable for the public to be aware of was already taken care of by you in the financials report when you were talking about Civi. So at this point, I think I would move to go into executive session with Mr. Andy Bukovich, because this is staff related, if he's available. He did tell me that he would make himself available for this meeting, but I have not spoken to him in a few days. So if he wouldn't mind reaching out, or I could as well.
Okay, I will reach out to him, but can we also include executive session to have legal updates?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
And I believe that Miss Eiler is on this call, and I've already preemptively voluntold her that she is to manage the room while we're gone.
You're not the
Nice.
boss of me, but I will.
I am the boss of you here in California, nowhere else, but I'm glad that you think that I'm not.
Take it up with a guy who's about a foot taller than you. His name is my husband.
Wow. All right. We are fighting. We will fight offline. Will be fun.
Okay. I
Okay.
have a question. I'm not trying to be a pain in the booty. What are the grounds for executive session? I obviously understand the pending
yes.
litigation,
Thank
but
you.
what's the other one categorized as?
Staff related issues. Mr.
Okay.
Bukovich will be joining us.
Okay.
You are never a pain, Madam Secretary. What are you talking about?
You don't know me well enough then.
Okay.
I
Actually,
do. I've just never incurred the wrath.
Mr. Malagon, can you call Mr. Bukovich while I kind of monitor or this? Do you mind? And then if you don't reach him,
not at all.
I'll
Yes,
call him.
ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
I will mute now and call him.
Okay, so it's been moved, and has it been seconded yet to go into executive session to discuss legal issues and staff updates? Personnel.
Second.
Okay, thank you very much. Any objections to going into executive session? And I don't think this is going to take very long, so let's try to not take very long. Okay, hearing none, we are going to go into executive session and invite Andy Bukovich to attend and share some of his insights on some things that have been going on.
Everybody.
Welcome back. How many people made purchases at LP at the LP store while we were gone?
I actually donated to Donovan's memorial.
You are the best.
I bought
worthy
one of
cause.
those dresses.
I
That's
bought
what I'll be
one too.
wearing
I
at the
already
next
have
LNC
it.
meeting.
It turned out good.
Well, this is awkward. I also bought one of those dresses. Can't wear it on
We're
Saturday.
gonna all be so cute together.
Well, which one did you
Great
get?
in
There's
print.
multiple ones. So hopefully you got the one that's the wiggle dress, because I really do want to see you in a wiggle dress.
I bet you do.
Yeah, I don't look great in prints, so if we could get more just like solid colors, that would be great.
Well, the one that's the like long, the midi dress, that's like a fit and flare. The top is solid, and only the skirt is print.
I do love a fit and flare.
Oh yeah, it's a beautiful fit and flare.
I'm on the website
Sizing
right
is
now.
accurate too, can confirm.
Yeah, the one that was print all over, I thought that was too busy too. And I've got pink hair. But I got the one with the black solid and then the fit and flare bottom. But you want to know what else is nice I'm buying next is that one, the one that looks like a baseball tee. I forgot what they were called on there. Those
Baseball
are nice.
Those are very nice. So I will be doing print all over. This is awesome. Everybody, please continue to buy merch. I'm spacing mine out once a month purchases. Does anybody have, there's one last thing on the agenda. Would anybody like to make that motion?
I move to adjourn.
Do we have a yeehaw?
Second.
All right. It's been moved and seconded to adjourn. Any objections?
Point of order, there was no yeehaw.
There was no yeehaw. Yeah, I was just going to say thank you, Mr. Vice Chair.
All right.
Did he really just mute himself and not give the
I
yeehaw?
can't
Are you
yeehaw.
kidding me?
Okay, well, I will yeehaw. I will yeehaw, which is not, the chair doesn't normally do that, but I'll do that. Okay, is, any objections? Don't do it.
To the
Hearing,
yeehaw.
hearing no objections, we are adjourned at 9:40 p.m. Thank you all so much